Okay, so we're back again, part 3. Sorry about the, just quickly let's check the last video, make sure it recorded okay before starting this one, and noticed there was some electrical interference noise on the audio track. I hopefully have now sorted the problem out. If anybody else ever has such an issue, it turns out the problem that the USB cable that leads to my microphone was too close to the network cable, the RJ45 network cable. So we are now we've got two things to go through here. One of them is we want to check our scouting pool for the players, but the other one is to redo the academy trials. We're going to do that first. We now have 6 graduate slots, and we also have this skill that helps us. Let's go back to the manager skill. So we got the foresight, the graduation, the quality. Now the quality just helps them when they shuffle through on a daily basis to get a little bit better players for each level. This one we're not going to see any impact helping us until tomorrow, and it's not obvious that exactly how it's helping at any given day. So these other two, however, they're imminently obvious exactly what they're doing to help. This foresight one is making these letters get revealed. This graduation one is giving us these extra slots. So even if we're only actually interested in getting around 3 youth players each month, obviously we're just starting out, we're interested in 6. Hell, we may be interested in 12, but we can only get 6. Longer term, we may only be interested in trying to get around 3 new players each month for our youth team. Even if that's the case, though, the 6 graduate slots can really help because we get to keep 6 players from one day to the next, which helps us end up with a fantastic 3 at the end. Helps us a lot to get to a good 3 at the end. So even if you don't want 6, getting extra levels in this can still help you end up with 3 or 4 or 2 or 1 or however many you want. You get the 6, the rest you can just sell for nothing, just release or whatever. Just keep the ones you want, but it helps you end up with the ones that you do want quite a bit. And these letters also help you because, especially in the early stages of the month, they help a lot. They allow you to make sure you make the right decisions for who you're holding, and they maximize your chances of ending up with fantastic players. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. It is about maximizing your chances. There's no ironclad sort of guarantees with this. It's all about maximizing your chances. So let's go through this guy. We discussed he's sort of just got big ticks into 3 key things, probably the 3 most important things that matter. So nothing matters too much with this guy. We won't dwell on it because the letters don't help because we already know everything that matters a lot for him. Now this guy, however, we're saying it could turn out in different paths. If he's faster, that could be good even if other things are weaker. If he's slower, that could still be okay if other things are strong. Now what are those other things? So the things that we were talking about was the speed, it was the passing, and it was the vision. Now these letters are basically showing you the order of the next attributes that are going to be revealed. So next it'll be agility, and then control, and then aerial ability, and then work rate, and then marking, and then tackling, and then speed. So how many is that? 7? Something like that. 7th letter of the alphabet. It's G, I think. Anyway, around there. So it's not exactly the there's less than one. It's not each day that they're guaranteed to get one either. So they start with 4 or so, and the rest will get revealed on average throughout the rest of the month. So you can sort of start working out what the odds are here. If there's like 30 odd days in a month, and they are revealed sort of by the second last day. That's like 28 days after the start. They start with sort of like maybe 4 or 5. They have 21 attributes. If there's, let's say, 4 revealed, 4 or 5, at least like 17 or so, 17 or 16, and they will get revealed over the course of the 28 days or so. So you can sort of look at it something like 16 over 28, which is you know, it's what is that? It's a bit faster than like, it's like every 1.4 days, something like that. 1.3. You can think of it like that. So it's not every day, but it's 2 every 3 days, something like that. You could think of it. So basically what I'm saying is, in order to get to speed, to know what this value is probably around 10 days, something like that from now. And then 11 or 12 days to find out the passing. And then like 12 or 13 days to find out the vision. So if this is low, we got to wait a lot of days basically to find out if we're interested in keeping this guy. This is the point here. Now, it's along the way there are some stuff. So in particular, the A, B, and C, that's not unimportant. Like, we do care about his agility, we do care about the control, and we do care quite a bit about the aerial ability. And the D, we care a bit about that. We're not too bothered about the marking, not really the tackling. So I would say, and the determination we care a lot about, the flair we care, the strength we really care, and they're not even on the horizon. Basically, to know if this guy is going to be a keeper for us, we won't even know that until at least, say, 10 days from now to get any kind of idea. It's just too long. We'll have so many players come through. We have 10 days of players come through. It's just too long to be absorbing or taking up this slot for 10 days just to find out the answer to any question that we care the answer to, basically. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is we don't want to put this guy in a spot because he'll just hog the spot instead of allowing us to potentially give it to, like, in that 10 days, maybe we could put 7 different players that are in a similar situation to him, but the A letter, the next attribute to be revealed, is one that we really care about. So, for example, in this example, rather than the speed, passing, vision being GHI, maybe they were ABC. And if they were ABC, then we would definitely keep this guy. And maybe there's a different guy that has the 3 that we care about as the A, B, or C, or at least the next one we care about as A or B or C, sort of thing. So, and there probably is a guy down here right now that we could, that is more like that. So let's just see through. This guy, we already sort of knew the main ones. The rest of this guy, we were just generally looking for just generally high attributes to keep coming through. I think that's still true for him. So let's move on. The determination would be one, though, that we would care quite a bit about, because for this player in particular, because we want the whole idea of keeping a player like this or graduating is that his stuff is generally high, that we would want to look to play him and get a lot of development points and for him to develop really well. So he wouldn't be sort of hinging on being useful because of specific attributes. He would be hinging on being useful because of general good attributes across the board and general good attribute increases across the board. And having high determination would really help with that, along with playing lots of matches. So the determination matters, and that is a C, so that's good. It is coming up soon. If that ends up like 1 or something like that, 8, 5, whatever, then probably we end up just not ending up with this guy. Right, so this is a good example where we actually originally had this guy in, but then swapped him out for this guy. So this guy now, though, because we weren't sure how long it would be, how long until we find that tackling out. It could be ages, that's what we said, but it's actually not ages. It's potentially in the next 3 to 5 days. So, and the strength we really care about, that matters. The speed really matters. The aerial ability really matters. The positioning does matter as well. And obviously everything matters. I'm just saying the stuff that we are really caring about for this guy, particularly, is probably the tackling, the positioning, the aerial ability, the speed, and the strength. And The strength is next. The tackling is very soon. The speed is soon. Like, basically, this is the opposite of this guy. Pretty much, whereby, you know, the stuff that we really care about, this guy's too far in the future. It's like 10 days away. Whereas in the case of this guy, it's not. It's potentially tomorrow we start finding it out, and potentially within sort of 3 to 5 days, maybe we know a bunch of key stuff that would really help us with the decision. This guy, so he wasn't originally selected at all. Interestingly, though, one of the key attributes for this guy is the tackling, and that is next. So that's just worth bearing in mind. I don't think he's probably good enough to bother about regardless, but it's interesting nonetheless. So this guy in particular, it's tackling and speed, and as an MR, they are probably both super important. Could he be like a two-way player? What does he sort of look like? Because he's got good dribbling, whatever, but he can't cross. So you don't really want him rampaging up the wing. You would want him to be more of a two-way player or more of a defensive player. So the tackling is key to knowing that, and the other thing that would be really good to know is the speed, and they're A and B. Kind of feel like all of a sudden maybe this guy, it doesn't look that great, but his attributes, but because you find out two key pieces of information in the next two reveals, if the tackling and the speed are good, then what do you need with this guy? And then I think the answer to that is it depends how great, but maybe you don't need to know anything else much, quite frankly. The rest you just probably, you do with, you don't necessarily need to know anything. The determination is probably the big question mark. Just because they'll get more development points by playing with a higher determination. So if they're a player you think you'll use, it matters a lot. And if they're not going to use, then they're players you're not going to use. You're probably not going to end up wanting to keep them longer term anyway. So it's better to focus on players you think you're going to use. So this guy, the wingers we're not focusing on, so let's just move on. Right, so for this guy in particular, the low determination, like saying, is a bit of a down. The passing though matters, and the vision, they're coming up, but the imminent things are the marking. A B C passing. Maybe this guy's a maybe. We'll put him in instead of this guy. Winger, fullback. We've already got a fantastic right fullback, so we probably don't need a second one. That's one consideration. The other consideration is that the tackling is some ways off at E. The speed isn't even, you won't even find that out till right near the end of the month. The determination is a long ways away. So yeah, and key stuff is just too far away for now to bother. This striker, the low determination, the one in passing, I think the speed isn't even on the radar. Yeah, the finishing is around the corner a bit, but even if that's super high, we still potentially got to wait 5 days to find that out. And even then, even if it is really high, because he's so weak in other things, he's going to need to be really excel at other things. And yeah, probably not winger again. But this is probably a good example of, again, with the letters helping, like, because you are finding out, like, A, B, C, like, flair and dribbling, they matter a lot. So you will find that out. That's fantastic. But other stuff, like, for example, the speed, that matters for the wingers. and you care about the determination a lot, and they're not even here at all, right? So it's sort of, yeah. So maybe you would. So this is an interesting one from the perspective. I mean, we won't keep him because we won't keep the wingers, but it's interesting from the perspective of that you will find out 2 key pieces of information imminently, but then the other pieces that you really care about won't be until the end of the month. So maybe you would hold him just to find out, just in case the flare and the dribbling came out at like towards 60, and maybe it's worth just keeping a slot just to gamble that the other stuff will be good. Or maybe the flare and all the dribbling comes out low and you're like, yeah, okay, it's definitely not worth even speculating, sort of thing. So it's an interesting one, that one. Just that combination of like near and far, basically. And the crossing as well, sorry, is very far away. So, yeah, shot stopping too far away. Tackling, not even on the radar. Right, so this is an interesting one. I think we were talking about him before, like as a maybe. He is slow, and you already know that. But if the passing was really high, I guess you would want the long shots to be high. Those ones you are finding out soon. But probably in order to sort of justify, I mean, probably we would want to know the aerial ability. I think he probably would. That's something we would be interested in. I think just on the basis that if you, yeah, but I think because these are B and C, it's a maybe. If these both end up super high, then he could end up some interesting kind of player. So yeah, here's one we could consider. I would say consider instead of yeah, could consider. I think the thing is just in particular because we already know that he's really slow and he would have to be fantastic to make up for that, but he's already not kind of fantastic, right? Like his work rate's all, we already know a bunch of other stuff isn't that fantastic, and yet arguably it doesn't necessarily matter that much. Like you could cater for that if other things were great, but it just requires, I think, too much to be great for this guy. And I think one of those things that would need to be great to compensate for all of this is that ideally he would be a monster on set pieces, and that's not even on the radar to be revealed. So right, wingers, not having them, but interestingly, just back to the letters helping, you're finding out things that matter, like they're all on the radar, so to speak. Like going through the physicals, you care about all of these, A, G, C, B, if you're going to start them. Like you care about that, care about the determination, you care about the crossing, you care about the dribbling. So all the stuff that you really care about is all the stuff that's pretty much all coming up. And all the stuff that you're not too bothered about, that's all the stuff that's not on the radar. I mean, yeah, maybe the movement you do a bit, but there's always some little exception. But I think generally this guy is great because all this stuff is coming up, and he doesn't look particularly special at the moment, but actually that could change very fast if these imminent ones start coming up very high. He could be a useful player, but again, for us, winger, so no. This guy, you're finding out the tackling next, and then the dribbling, which you do care about, and then the movement, fine. Agility, fine. Marking, not bothered. Finishing, good. But again, I think it's just because determination not even on the radar, speed not even on the radar, strength not even on, passing not even on the radar. Too many things that are just key for this position. I keep saying speed. I think speed is just an interesting one because it's just generically, obviously, you always want all your players to be faster, so it's always it's better. We can talk about specific in regards to squad construction. That's not necessarily always true because players who are faster, they tire more quickly. So there is a balance where you don't want too many players that are too fast combined with low endurance and combined with tactical instructions to end up too tired at the end. So you definitely are okay to have some players that are not fast. But in regards to this exercise, like, we're always going to be able to buy players from the scouting pool that aren't fast. We're always going to be able to pick up academy trial graduates, trialists towards the end of the month that are really well-rounded and aren't that fast. Picking up good players that aren't fast is easy to relatively quite easy to do. So that's why at the moment we're just focusing on that a lot in regards to the selection of all of this. And then this guy, yeah, again, you just the passing already low. Again, stuff that you probably care about that matter. Speed, again, determination, again, not there. So, yeah. So in the end, if we didn't get the 3 extra slots, but we did get the letters, because the letters are super cheap. They're almost free. So what difference would have that made for us? So we still would pick that guy. But this guy we wouldn't have picked in the top 3. And this guy we wouldn't have picked in the top 3, because instead we for sure would have picked this centre half instead, because the stuff we really care about is imminent. And instead of that guy, we would have picked... probably this guy here, because the stuff we care about is imminent as well. So basically, if we only had the 3 slots, we would have brought in these 2 guys where we will find out answers, tomorrow maybe, that allows us to just get rid of them and put other guys in. So actually, 2 of the 3 players we picked would have been different just based on these letters if we only had 3, and because we had 6, it really helped us now. Yeah. Form a good sort of a good plan, a good picture here. And if going through this process every day, come the end of the month, we have way higher chances of ending up with some great graduate players that can really help us going forwards. So it's quite a bit to unpack there. I definitely tried to fly through it as fast as possible, but not detailing every single thought here, every single bit of reasoning behind exactly why players were dismissed a bit. Now, this does not take into account... we haven't picked our tactic yet. We haven't worked out what style of football we want to play yet. That is a big factor in regards to picking this as well. Going forwards, once we know that, we will be factoring that into this process each day. So I'm saying this guy could be different types of players, depending on whatever. But once we have got a sort of an established sort of system set up, and we're looking for specific types of players, then maybe we don't, for example, in this guy, we're saying he could be fast and or could have good passing and vision. But maybe for our tactic, we definitely need high passing and vision. And yeah, ideally he would be fast or whatever, but it's not an option. We don't want the version of this guy where he's fast but has low passing and vision. We only want a version that has high passing and vision. So we could have less flexibility in exactly how players can turn out for us to be interested in them. We could know exactly what we're looking for, and that can we can make things easier, actually, because these letters can help you. Because if you care about exactly specific attributes, then you only need the letters for those attributes, how far away they are, or if they're already revealed. That matters a lot, and it can make this process even easier to dismiss and select players, and harder to end up in the end with the ones that you actually want. But the more aggressively you can just dismiss players out of the way, the more you can bring in other players that, so how do you say, like, the more you can sort of cycle through and the more you can increase your chances of finding the right player let's put, so to speak. So you don't want to be holding what we're saying here, like you just don't want to be holding up the resources for forever to find something out eventually that, you know, probably is not going to. The reality is probably this guy will not. All of these players here where we're saying we need this, we need this, we need this, most of the time you're not going to get it. That's the thing. Most of the time it is going to not work out. They won't end up with everything you want. They're just not going to get it. It's quite, you know, occasionally it will be the case, but most of the time, nearly all of the time, it's not going to be the case, especially when it's multiple attributes that you want. So you need to factor that in. Like, if you hold this guy for the whole month, you're probably not, you know, and the stuff you want to know is right at the end, it's probably not going to be what you want. So, but if you find that out tomorrow or the next day, it probably won't be what you want. You can then try another guy, and you get, over the course of a month, if you're constantly picking players, you're going to find out what you want to know in the next couple of days. And you've got six slots here. You know, you're potentially rotating through 6 different players on average every 1 to 2 days over the course of 30 days. You know, that's like, potentially you're looking at like 120. You're getting to basically try out 120 guys at the extreme here versus 6 at the other extreme, where you're saying we're constantly going to be picking guys based on knowing the key things we need are always tomorrow, so we can get rid of them, versus picking guys to hold the stuff we really need to know we're not even going to know until the end of the month. So it's a huge difference, 120 versus 6 at the absolute extremes, obviously. But the reality is it's not going to be 120 or 6. It's going to be something that's closer to 120 or closer to 6, and it's quite a huge range there. Alright, so I think that's about another half an hour to have gone through this, so we will stop this episode here, and we will do another one looking at our scouting pool.